All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Little improv broadcast today from my living room. We had to hardwire in at the last moment, but I got Chris Green, the man, the myth, the legend, with us. And I don't even know where you're from, Chris, but welcome to the Hangout, man.
Today I'm in Attleboro, Massachusetts, where we have our office. Normally live in Rehoboth, Massachusetts, where I can actually see the city line from my office here. We are just over. So it's great. We have an office 1 mile away from my house. It allows me to get the work out of the house. And I think a lot of people want to do that, right? They have the work at home. I know probably a lot of people listening, they're getting started, they're hustling, they got their garage, their trunk, all this stuff full of product. And their wife, their husband, if they're not in the business with you, are probably like, get that stuff out of here. And hey, if we can help you build up the point where you get a warehouse, or this is like a new idea for a lot of people, but I think it works. Rent or buy a second house for the space, because hey, a lot of us don't have employees or walk-in traffic, and maybe a warehouse makes a lot of sense, but you might be able to actually finance another house for a lower payment than a warehouse. So if that works for you and it's allowed in your city, something to consider. That's what we do.
Yeah. Well, we just got in and got tips raining already. I knew this would be a fun interview, Chris, but
straight to it, man. Value.
Yeah, well, it's a good tip because production's everything. And when you're working at home, that's a whole. I mean, we could talk. I've been working at home for the better part of 10 years. There's a lot of things you can do to separate. But I saw a lot of gurus start doing this actually. Evan Pagan and some other guys that I was following, where they would just get into their condo space. They would just go to. So you've got a house you work out of, Chris, or what's your normal working environment?
Well, a lot of times I'll stay at home because we do work online. If I have a computer and internet and power, that's the cool thing. Because up in Massachusetts, believe it or not, we get hurricanes and we do get blizzards. But as long as I have power and internet, my days are really quite the same. Because you guys know I do a lot of online arbitrage. I do a lot of webinars and help people, and I write a lot of books. So as long as I got the computer and the internet, I'm kind of good to go. But it is nice to get out of the house. We've got 2 kids at home. They like to make noise. It's not really fair to them to say, no, you can't make noise at home. Daddy's working.
Yeah.
So we saw this other house pop up, and we pulled the trigger on it. And I only wish we had done it sooner, because for the typical eBay and Amazon seller, you just need space. You don't need a warehouse. You're not getting to the point of receiving pallets and trucks is great. But if we're receiving a lot of UPS, you just need another house. You just need another garage. You just need I'm here in the den, really. Back here is the dining room, but it's full of my camera equipment. You just need another house. And the coolest thing about another house, and I know this isn't probably where you thought we'd go already, but this is a house. So dude, if you come visit, I ain't got to put you up in a hotel. You can stay here, fully furnished, full kitchen and everything. It's very versatile, and I love that. I love the versatility. If people come to town, extended family, hey, we've got a place for them. You can't make them sleep at your warehouse. That's not allowed.
You try that on your in-laws a couple times, see how that goes over.
Yeah.
Well, dude, Chris, I got to ask you, we've got less than an hour together today, and I appreciate you carving out time. You're a super busy guy. A lot of people know you in this space. For those that don't, I mean, you created ScanPower. I don't know your full story, so I would love it if we've got probably, this is for our members today, so about half the group's beginners, Amazon sellers, and probably about 25% or a third is more advanced, so we'll kind of tailor the content. But how did you get started? You started way back in the eBay days, right? When did you first get into this e-commerce?
Way back, man. I can say I've been selling online since the 90s, right? Which sounds like a long time ago, but 1999 is only, I guess it's 16 years, man. It adds up. And those are the days where I would go to Kmart, and I was looking for wrestling figures back when WWF and WCW were at their peak, and you could buy, that's when Stone Cold was super hot, and they had Kmart exclusives, and they actually made variants or even paint errors, where his camo hat wouldn't have the skull on it, and if you could find one, it was worth a lot of money on eBay. But this was before everyone had cell phones, let alone smartphones. So I used to drive to Kmart, look stuff up, and take notes and go home. All we had was eBay completed. That was it. No sales rank, no Keepa, no Camel, none of that stuff. And look stuff up. And then if something was good, I would go back and hope it was still there, right? And buy the stuff and sell it on eBay. And I'd always just kind of been into that, bringing markets together. I was buying stuff from garage sales. I was buying jewelry because my aunt was a jewelry dealer. And I found these, necklaces. I was like, these are worth way more than $1. They weren't gold or anything, but they were nice.
Yeah.
I'm buying stuff up, and she's selling them and doing all this stuff. And I got into sports cards as a kid, and I was flipping stuff. But it wasn't until I started working for Bosch Power Tools out of college. I went to Texas A&M in Texas. And basically, I was a sales rep. I started as an intro sales rep. So I'm in Home Depot or Lowe's pretty much every day of the year for 5 years. And about 2 years in, I started, you see the product cycles, the seasonal cycles, and the clearance cycles. It's very cyclical, right? You go to January in Home Depot, they're selling storage stuff. It's get your house back in order now that it's after the holidays.
Yeah.
And we're setting new tools, which means the old Bosch stuff got clearance, or we took over a line from DeWalt, so the DeWalt stuff got clearance. And I'm in a new store. This is Home Depot's big expansion. And I'm in a new store, and this is Dallas-Fort Worth. There's 70 Home Depots within an hour of my house. I say that, and people laugh. I'm like, no, like for real. Like count them up. Depending which way you go, you can go to one of 70 different Home Depots. And some stores sell out really fast, and some stores don't. Some stores put their inventory in the overhead because they're a high theft store, and they don't want to put it on the floor. So it stays there, and then it goes clearance, and then it goes clearance again. And no one knows it's there except I do, because I know the Home Depot computer system, because I need to track my own product. And hey, I'm also going to check DeWalt while I'm there. Ooh, that store's got them. So as soon as I went kind of all in on buying the stuff and selling it on eBay, and I would break it down, right? Sell combo kits, sell the batteries and tools separate. I could find where 80% of the inventory was in the 20% of the stores that had it, because they had a remote item inventory system where if you knew your store numbers, like I did, I could find all the products. So I'm going to the stores anyway. I had a super competitive advantage. I'm already in the stores. I got a company car. I can pick up the stuff while I'm working, and I know where all the inventory is. I know their system. I just know, I know that store. I know it's in the overhead garden. They don't put any of their expensive tools on the floor. You just know that stuff. So we made a ton of money. I'll be renting U-Hauls in the Home Depot parking lot before they open, and buy until they closed. And it was crazy. But that was eBay and self-fulfilling, right?
So when in the world were you having time to go home and ship this stuff?
We just did. We just hustled. This was before we had kids. But anybody who's single or anybody with no kids, now's the time to hustle, right? Like once you have kids, you can still hustle. You can put them to bed and like start hustling and do some work and whatever. But then an hour and a half into bedtime, they're puking. And now you're not doing online arbitrage. Now you have a puking kid, and now you're not sleeping, and now you can't send your kid to school the next day. That changes things. When it's just you and your wife, you and your husband or partner, or none. If you're just single, dude, put in the work and get the stuff. Lay the foundation. That you? You're single?
Yeah, no, I'm saying preacher, brother. You're telling the truth, man. No, I got married 2 years ago, but you're speaking truth.
But no kids?
No kids. So this is now. It's good.
Hustle now, man.
Hustle now.
So I'm shipping. I've done it. I've done the fulfillment. I've shipped 150 boxes day after day after day. It's not hard, right? But it takes time. So you do hit a wall of how big your business can get unless you hire or find some other way to outsource. Now we were buying from FBA. We were buying, not from FBA, from Amazon through Prime, which is a big no-no now. Back then it was okay. We had a corporate account with a second Prime membership on it. And we would get 2-day air on all these products we would buy and resell on eBay. So we wanted the fast shipping. So I was hooked on Prime. I actually looked it up when they did their 10-year anniversary of Prime. They said, click this link to find out how long you've been a Prime member. I'm like, cool, I'm interested. February 2005,
wow.
Which is the month they launched Prime. Like they launched Prime and I was in from day one. And as soon as FBA came out, Fulfillment by Amazon, which a lot of you, if you're new and you're like, what's this FBA thing? I hear all about it. This is like the magic sauce that makes all this work, because we were outsourcing our fulfillment, right? We can list all this stuff. We can buy all this inventory. We send it to Amazon. We get it out of our house. We get it out of the garage, and we don't have to pack 150 boxes a day. Amazon will do 150 like that. No big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Let them do that. That is what they are good at. So as soon as I saw the program, I was like, whoever uses FBA is going to kick Merchant Fulfilled's butt, without a doubt. But I'm sure the fees, it's going to be you have to send so much inventory. It must be something, right? I look at the fees. You're actually going to make more money using FBA, doing less work, and your customers are going to be happy. I started calling it the triple win. More money, less work, customers happy. It was a no-brainer. So I sent all my products to FBA, all my power tools.
Okay.
And then I'm like, now what do I do? So I got it. I don't even remember what it was, but I found the online scanners, right? The Windows Mobile PDAs, and you scan books of book sales in thrift stores. And this is 7 years ago, back when you pull out $2,000 out of a thrift store every store you went to. Because nobody was doing it, and the thrift stores certainly weren't doing it. So I do that. I'm shipping books every day, and I just don't make the connection that I can send books to FBA. So I finally email Amazon. I'm like, I got all these books. I really love to use FBA. Can we do that? And they're like, yeah, of course. Why not? I'm like, well, because they're onesie. because they're used, because they're, you know, different conditions. They're like, so send them all to FBA. So I'm like, so I finally looked in. It was like, yes, you can choose condition. Yes, you can do one at a time. I thought it made a lot of sense for multiple new commodity, but no, it works for onesie, twosie collectible on books. So I sent all my books to FBA, and I'm back to twiddling my thumbs again. I'm like, dude, finding products easy, selling them is easy. The bottleneck became processing inventory.
Yeah.
I could not process it fast enough. And this is back only 30 up labels. That was the only way you could do it. Nothing in order. So you had 30 books, 30 labels, and just kind of hope you get it right and not make a mistake. So I went on Elance. It's they're Upwork now. They're changing over. It's like a freelance website where you can post a job. Back then it was really tech heavy. Now it's kind of anything. You can find a seamstress on Elance. So I posted a job, said I need someone that can write a program that will do two things: print FBA labels individually and add $3.99 shipping to the lowest price in books. Because this is back when penny books were, hey, if as fast as you can process them, you're turning a book into a dollar bill. That's all I needed to do. And he said he could do it. And I remember the day the Dymo label printer, the first label popped out, single. I was like, this is going to change things, because now I can process inventory fast. And he was like, you know, this is Paul Rutherford. He's a co-founder of ScanPower today. But back then, he wasn't sold on FBA. He was like, hey, thanks, cool working with you. And I was like, no, dude, FBA is going to get big. And he's like, nah, I don't think so. I'm like, dude, like there was no doubt in my mind FBA would get big. And I was right. I could have been wrong. You know, history has shown that I was right on that. And everybody would agree now that, yeah, FBA is a game changer. So we decided to make it software as a service. SaaS is the business model, where you can pay $40 a month to use our mobile, or $40 a month to use our listing and repricing. You pay every month, and we help you make money with FBA. Then we kind of switched into marketing, and it wasn't an intentional switch to marketing, where it's not really content marketing. I call it education marketing, where we just want to help sellers. We can teach sellers, we can help them be better, help them find deals, whatever it is, then great. And hopefully they'll use our products. And if not, maybe they'll use our products later. But our best customer is a smart seller, because if you fail at selling, you're definitely not going to use ScanPower. We want you to succeed at selling. That's it. It's a very comfortable marketing position to be in. And, you know, the last thing I'll tell you is, you know, we got into publishing books, and now I've become like a little bit famous, a little celebrity because of my books. Because like, oh, he must be special. He's written books. The book happened by accident, because we were teaching everybody about FBA. Same questions over and over again. What's FBA? Why does the prime customer pay more? What's the process? What do you know? All this stuff. So I wrote this really long PDF covering the basic questions I got all the time, so I wouldn't have to answer them anymore. Mm-hmm. That was it. Then I putz around. I Google like print on demand and self-publishing, and I find CreateSpace. It's owned by Amazon. I upload a couple files, and overnight I am published. Physical copy book, barcode on the back, glossy cover. I'm on Amazon. And everybody's like, wow, this guy must be really smart now. And I'm like, no, I'm really not. I just uploaded files to the internet, and that's how you become an author these days. But then that's kind of snowballed into other things. Now people want me to speak at conferences because, well, if he has a book, he must be like the best. And while I do want to be considered the best, there's probably someone out there that knows more than I do. They just haven't written a book. So whoever's listening, if that's you, write the book, bring the information, help other sellers, and you can be an FBA celebrity like me.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
No, that's good, man. There's a lot in that I want to pack. It's kind of the behind the scenes of, I guess, where ScanPower came from. It's interesting how, and I've noticed this too, Chris, always in the hustle is where the best ideas come from. Like, right. My best ideas too were total accidents, just by stumbling across them, or gifts from God, or whatever you want to call it. But in the hustle is where that stuff's at, not in the behind the computer screen. So you got to get out and make stuff happen. But so you started, I appreciate hearing that backstory, got into books. When did you, I guess for some tactical takeaway tips for somebody that's watching, we've got a lot of people that are here in the US, and everybody struggles with sourcing. That's like there's two big problems I've noticed with FBA sellers: sourcing, finding good products. When they solve that problem, processing the inventory. This is, we were joking before talking on our short pre-interview today, like that's my big problem too. I love finding stuff. I hate sending it in and processing it. So what can we, well, let's start with sourcing. What, you know, when you made that transition, you kind of had an in with the Home Depots. You know, what can someone do if they're starting off, you know, doing online arbitrage? There's so much stuff out there. Where would you start if you were starting over again?
Well, people need to know where they're at, right? Like, I hate to get like, oh, you got to believe, right? But you do have to believe that this is going to work. Because if you believe it's not going to work, then it won't work, right? You will find a way to torpedo yourself. Yeah. But you need to know where you want to go. and how you're going to get there, right? You need to know where you are, where you want to go. Figure out how you're going to get there. Because, and it's weird. I get this question all the time. I want to make $5,000 a month, right? Because that's 60 grand a year. That's a lot of money. That's where they want to get. Maybe that's where they want to be to quit their job. And I say, okay, great. How much? What's your budget to buy inventory? And they're like $300. And it's always the same. It's always 5,000 and 300. I'm like, dude, that's not realistic, right? If I could turn 300 into 5,000 every month, I would just hire people to just do that, just replicate that all day long. It's just not realistic. Can it happen? Sure. You could find a score. You know, it could happen. But you got to back out your margin. Because people say, I want to sell 100 grand in a month. Okay, well, you have to have inventory to support those sales levels. Can you support $100,000 worth of inventory? Well, no, I only got like 3,000. I'm like, well, then let's be realistic, right? Because you can build. I built up from nothing. I built up from one credit card, buying a couple combo kits. And if you buy and pay off, and I know we don't need to get into credit versus non-credit. I'm a credit card guy. I want the points. I want the ease, and I pay them off. And if you buy and sell on credit card, they will up your limit like crazy. I have cards with 6-digit limits on it. It's stupid. Like, what am I going to – you can't buy a house on credit card, but I guess you could. But I keep them because I want to be positioned to do a big deal, right? Because if you can't do a big deal, then don't even look at big deals. Build yourself up.
Yeah.
But be realistic about where you are. If you live in like the middle of nowhere with no stores around, then retail arbitrage is probably not something you're going to be very successful with. If you want to do, if you're super low budget, want to do thrift stores, but you don't have any thrift stores around, then you're probably going to have to learn online arbitrage. Maybe you hate online arbitrage. If you live in a place like Dallas-Fort Worth, you have more stores than you can go to. Do the retail, and do what you like too, because if you like it, you're going to be more into it. If you in your head you hate it, there's things that I hate, and when I have to do those things, it just puts me in a bad mood, and I know it too, and I can't even talk myself out of it. But that's what people need to do. Figure out what you like, what's going to give you the best return, and learn those things. We live it's 2015. We got the internet. We can pretty much learn 90% about any topic in less than a week, right? Now we may not be experts and learn that last 10%, but you want to learn how to do online arbitrage, guys. It's not hard. I wrote a book on it. There are tons of free videos. There's tons of help online with the Facebook groups. But you have to get in. You have to commit to learning it. But none of it's hard. I mean, I've seen this. People think it's hard. People don't know hard. You guys just heard me say in the 90s we had to drive to the store without a phone, right? Now we have Keepa, Camel, iPhones and Android and ScanPower and the Amazon app. We have all these things at our disposal, and we psych ourselves out. We find a sweet deal, and we're like, well, it can't be that sweet. If I found it, then someone else must have already found it. No, you can be the first to find it. Then you got to pull the trigger and buy it up. But if you buy smart, it can be real hard to lose money.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's play this game then, Chris, because you laid out some good points, and I appreciate you sharing that. The secret is there is no secret, and any business, you've got to break through that at some level.
We should talk about secrets, because there are some secrets.
There are some secrets. Well, let's do this for the sake of people listening. Let's lay out a strategy for someone, because you get that hypothetical. I think 5,000 a month is a reasonable goal for most Americans, probably for most of our group, for most of the FBA sellers. If you were with what you know now, and you've been in this space for a while, and you've done a lot of different strategies, and you mentioned someone figuring out for themselves, I think that can be overwhelming for some people. So if you were starting over, let's lay out a strategy. What would you do? I mean, and if the end goal is maybe 5,000 a month and then getting to a 6-figure net profit for the business, I mean, I want to set some realistic parameters. But what would you do starting off from scratch from now through Christmas of your first season? And then maybe how would you snowball that? Let's talk about the scaling part, because a lot of people have questions about that.
I would learn as much as I could about the data available. I have to assume everybody has an iPhone or an Android phone and a high-speed internet connection and a computer at this point.
Yeah.
So during the day, and I think most people live, 95% of countries within 10 minutes of a Walmart or something, or maybe that's a McDonald's or something. But we all have stores close to us, right? So I would be going to stores. I would be looking at clearance product. Whether it's, toys is a real easy one, especially going into fourth quarter. And I would start scanning products, and I would start learning to read the data, because we're making decisions based on sale price, market price. Is Amazon a seller? What's the sales rank? And if you're super new, some of these things are going to be like, I don't know what that sales rank means. And I get it. You won't know what that means, but you can learn it, right? You can track stuff. You can find an item and look at camel, 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 and look at the sales rank history and see the spikes and see, okay, well, it's got a range like this, and it's going to spike. It'll be at this point or this point, and I can tell it's selling 13 units a month. And this should probably be a video you delve into, maybe little screenshots or something, because it's not intuitive, right? Once you do it a lot, you're like, oh, I know exactly what that graph means. But if you show it to someone new, like, I have no idea what this graph means. But a spike in sales rank means that it sells. And then as it doesn't sell, it's going to drift. Well, let me make sure I do it the right way here. It's going to drift off.
That's good.
And you can infer a lot of information about sales velocity, because if you buy right, meaning you buy low enough below the market price, which is another price we need to deduce, right? It might be that Amazon has an artificially low price, or that all the sellers are selling at a lower price now, but it's going to come back up, or whatever it might be. You need to know the market price, and you need to know your cost, because then you can figure out your margin and your profit. And that's one thing, but Amazon doesn't give you sales history. So all we see is the list price. Not necessarily that's the market price. We're deducing the market price based on sales rank. If it's a good sales rank, meaning it's been selling a lot recently, Amazon as a seller is a great indication of the market price. The number of FBA sellers is another good indication, because the more FBA sellers at the same price, you have a better kind of sense of confidence that that is the market price, because it's competition. You got one seller, you're like, I don't know if that's competition. Maybe he's just price gouging a little bit. Then once you get comfortable with some prices, say, okay, this will sell. I'm confident in this. Now, the super conservative way is to buy that stuff and list it merchant fulfilled and wait for it to sell, because then you have that ultimate backup of returning it to the store. I don't recommend that, because you don't want to make the store upset, like, why are you returning all this stuff? But it is your safety point backup if you're super cautious, super conservative. That's the way to do it. It starts selling, then hey, you buy more and you send them to FBA, because you're going to get an FBA boost. You're going to get those sales from those products from the customers who only buy FBA items. So you're definitely going to get a boost with that.
Okay, so real quick before you start off, nothing fancy here, retail arbitrage, and the purpose for that is learning how to analyze deals. So what's a rule of thumb before you move on to the next strategy? You just mentioned a bunch of factors, and we've actually, we've got this in our fast start guide. We've got an product analyzing. I think it's number 6 or 7 or 8 somewhere there. We've got a 5-minute clip on how to analyze, use camel, use FBA toolkits to see the price history. But what are you looking for? Because there's a lot of variables there. You mentioned price, rank, volume, cost, all this. What's like a rule of thumb that you got good where you get confidence in certain items? Obviously, each category has different ranks, but what do you look for?
I'm looking for brand, right? I want a good product, because let's not make any mistake, that we're awesome sellers and we're finding customers. We are totally piggybacking on Amazon's marketplace, which is why we pay the commission, and the brands and their goodwill with in their advertising, their Disney, Nickelodeon, Dora the Explorer, Princess Sophia advertising commercials. That's the reason our Princess Sophia stuff is selling, right? So I want stuff that's keyword heavy. I want Disney, Fisher-Price, Mickey Mouse, Transformers, because you'll find stuff. I guarantee, and anybody listen, you're going to find stuff that's ranked really high and priced really high, and you're going to get a little excited. You're like, oh, sweet, look at this doll from Big Lots. Well, that's a no-name doll. How is anybody going to find that? Because it has no keywords to go with it. But you can buy them cheap, and it can look like they're selling for a lot of money. But don't be fooled, right? I want stuff that's going to sell. And good brands will do that. Now, of course, price is a huge one. You got to put it near the top, because it's smart. The lower you buy, the more room you have. The more margin you have, the room you have to come down. If price erodes, if competition comes in, then you're safe. You're not going to lose money. So I do want stuff that's going to sell pretty fast, called a fast turn or a quick turning product. I don't want to sit on stuff unless I've got a lot of money potentially to make, right? That's probably another video, long tail items that you can buy cheap, and they will sell. They just sell so infrequently. But because of that weight and that risk, you got to have more time. You got to have more reward for the risk. Every purchase, you can break it down as risk reward, right? What's my reward? What's my risk? Because no one goes 10 out of 10 on buys. We're all going to make mistakes. So you want to make as few mistakes as possible, and low dollar mistakes, to where you spend $1,000, you only sold it for $900, you lost $100. Hey, it's better than losing $1,000. And when you buy good branded products, they're going to sell. at some point. Like Zuzu Pets isn't coming back. Right? that brand has sailed. But anything Mickey Mouse, Disney, I mean, that stuff's gonna, I don't want to say retain value, but someone's always going to be looking for it.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, you can get Keepa and Camel on your phone, right? So if you're at retail, you're going to learn so much. I mean, it's almost like homework to say, go scan 1,000 items.
Yeah.
And guess what? You're going to get better. And that's boring. It's terribly boring. But you can even start at home. You can scan the stuff in your house, the books, the media, the DVDs, your pantry, your medicine cabinet. Those are great places to start scanning because you'll be surprised what the Amazon customer will pay for special, flavored Oreos, right? And they got to have their special extra strength, Fixodent. And it's silly stuff that you think are never selling, but people are buying that stuff and they want to get it from Amazon. That's the Amazon customer part of it. They know it's at Walmart, but they're too lazy to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So scan 1,000 items. That's great advice for someone starting. What kind of, every category has different rank. What do you look for with rank? Is there like a threshold you like to look be in the 1%, 5%, or how do you categorize?
I don't like that 1% thing, man. It's because it's not really related, right? It's I see where it comes from, but it's not really related. We actually put up a guide. I don't know if you saw my site, gdfr.com.
No, I didn't see it.
And I can actually make you one if you want, because it's got affiliate links in it. So if you do the affiliate thing, we can make you your own GDFR. But we did put a sales rank guide at the bottom. Okay. And we tried to make it reverse, right? So if you put in a sales rank, we'll tell you what percentage it is. But there's two kind of baselines that I like to use. And I don't like to use one, but I put it in there anyway. The total number of items in the category.
Okay.
Right? Which, when you think about it, is not actually related to what's selling, right? Sounds good, though, but not related.
It's just the whole pie. It has nothing to do with the ones that are actually selling. It's just
right, dude. You make the pie bigger because I upload a bunch of crap. Doesn't mean more stuff selling.
Right. So how do you find the stuff that sells? If rank's not as important, what do you look for?
Well, here's the second way to do it. And this is what we added, and I hope more people kind of adopt it. Is you can sort that whole category by items that Amazon also sells. Okay. So if Amazon's on the listing, lot better, chance that that's a good listing. And it just changes the numbers a little bit. I want to know the top 1% of the number of items Amazon is selling.
Okay.
And to me, that's so much more relative. It's still not perfect because just because Amazon carries it doesn't mean it's selling, but it's way better than the 40 million book listings.
Yeah. Well, it means it's triggered something in their algorithm to where they see value in it. But so here's $1 million. A lot of people, this is a big question. We actually had this in the group yesterday. So you like to sell on listings that Amazon's on? That's kind of contrary to what a lot of people say. If Amazon's selling, why should I even bother with it? What do you think about that?
I think people have gone way too far. The pendulum has swung way too far one way, saying if Amazon's there, I don't want to compete. Amazon's going to beat the price down. Amazon's going to lose money to undercut me. And no, Amazon's not. I mean, one reason Amazon retail even exists is to supply the marketplace with products that third-party sellers are not listing at a competitive price or keeping in stock.
Okay.
Right? So if you've got a listing, if you made a new product, if you're bringing a new listing to the marketplace, and you're having trouble keeping it in stock, or Amazon knows if you got a $10 item from Walmart and you're selling it for $30, they know what the competition is. But if you're competitive, why on earth are they going to get in on it? They don't care. Yeah. Amazon themselves have told me that they don't care. Let third party, but you got to be competitive and you got to stay in stock.
Okay.
If you don't do those things, we're going to come in and we're going to make sure that it's in stock because they want to do what's right for their customer.
They want to
think about it the other way.
Yeah.
If Amazon's on a listing, that's confirmation that it's a product that's popular and selling. Right. Amazon will share the buy box. You can undercut Amazon, but only if you got the margin, only if you're buying low enough. And I think that's what you were alluding to earlier. I don't want to skip over that recommendation. And everybody listening, take this with a grain of salt. The 3 times rule that you guys have all heard about. I invented it. I didn't mean to make it a rule. I meant to make it.
Chris, look what you did. You changed the whole industry now is using 3X rule.
Dude, the 3X rule, the only reason for the 3X rule is to protect new sellers from losing money, right? Because if you got 100% margin built in, then you got a lot of room to come down. If you made a bad buy, if the price is going to start tanking, whatever it is, you got room to come down and not lose money.
Okay, So let's do this, Chris. I mean, we're joking, but explain what you create, what the 3X rule is, and what people should be listing as margin. This is because this is important for people knowing how to buy. Just like in real estate, you make your money when you buy, you realize when you sell. So what is it, and what should people be doing?
All right, dude. I got a stack of cash here because I just did some Craigslist deals. All right, so we got three $20 bills. All right, so in theory, if I buy a product for $20, I want to sell it for $60. I want to sell it for 3 times. I want to be listed and selling for 3 times my cost, right? Because here's my $60 sale. Now I got 20, that's my cost, right? So I'm getting that back. Amazon with their fees, especially with FBA, and that's going to freak out a lot of people. They're going to take about a third with their category specific commission, their pick and pack, their weight-based fulfillment, everything that goes into fulfillment. They're going to take about a third. That's going to leave you with one left, 1/3 as profit. So you're turning 20 into 40. You're doubling your money, which sounds great, right? If we could double our money, that's all we would do. Spend 5 G's and get 10 G's at the end of the month. But finding products like that all day, every day, especially at higher price points, finding 50, selling for 150, it's not that easy or realistic. And at the same time, people are passing over the turn this 20 into 30 in a day. Right? Go to the bank and ask them how long it's going to take for your interest on your $20 bill to turn into $30 when you can do it in a day, a week, a month on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's a 50%, margin. And that's great. If you do 50% margin on your money every month, that's a lot of money, right? You compound that and you have access to capital, you're going to make a lot of money. And that's probably something we should touch on, especially for you new sellers. The biggest hurdle you guys are going to have to getting big and making money is unfortunately access to capital. Because if you don't have money to buy inventory, you're not going to be able to grow. So if that's what it is, if you can find the deals, here's the twofold advice. Find someone with money, right? And say, look, let's partner up. I got the deals, I got the system, let's work together and we'll split the profits. Or those deals that you find that you can't afford because they're too big of deals or you just don't have the capital, you network with other sellers, you join groups, you have a mastermind group where you can then extract value from that deal, even though you're not actually pulling the trigger on it. You're leveraging value with other people who are going to say, heck yeah, thanks for that deal, homie. Now the next time something comes up, I'm going to send you a deal. And the relationship goes back and forth. And I don't know if you're in a mastermind group or how if you like network with other sellers, but man, that's the best, most valuable part of this.
Yeah. Okay. Man, good advice. So the 3X is made up imaginary, just for someone to give some framework. You just mentioned getting a 50% return, getting it faster. And I would rather take a 50% return if I could get it in 30 days.
Sure.
Than 100% return that I had to wait for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. Because it's the velocity of money. You can move your money faster. So what realistically, okay, so that's good take on that stuff. You mentioned margin. If you guys have specific questions, I'm doing my best to ask Chris. If you guys in the group have specific questions for Chris, as always, I'm gonna fire a ton at him today. Just post them in the group, and then I'll do my best to save about 15 minutes here at the end because we got to respect Chris's time. So quick little note, but I want to go back real quick, Chris. You mentioned the buy box and Amazon. We didn't have the chance to talk about that. That was a big topic of, is Amazon on it? Are they? How do you compete? How do you win the buybacks? What have you found is effective, even when you're competing with Amazon, to make sure your products are in the buy box?
Kind of the best way to do it, and this is kind of unscientific, is to be within plus or minus 2% of the buy box price, whether it's Amazon or whether it's a competitor. Because it's not, I know a lot of people, and I started this, I was a price seller, right? Like I undercut everybody. I actually used to get mad at customers who would buy from my competitors because they could see them on eBay. And I'm like, why are you paying 50, dude? I got it for 40. I was a price seller like an idiot. And, you don't have to undercut to get the sale. One of the big things is if you're using FBA, you're going to have a much better chance of getting the buy box. So I know if you got newbies on here or people getting started, you really got to go all FBA. There's really no reason not to unless you're just so conservative that, man, you can't pull the trigger. But, man, send it to FBA. If it doesn't work out, worst case scenario, it's only 50 cents to get your stuff back, right? So, who cares? If you can't afford the 50 cents, then scrap this whole business model until that, makes more sense. But, yeah, Amazon will share the buy box. Amazon's competitive. They do want lower prices for their customers, not for them. They want for the customers.
Okay.
But be within plus or minus 2%. Be in stock. And another thing that we really shouldn't have to like really mention, keep your metrics up, right? Have perfect order fulfillment. Have no issues. Respond to every email within 12 hours. Do everything you can to have perfect metrics, perfect feedback. If you get bad feedback, which will happen, the only way to get bad feedback is to sell so much stuff that you meet a crazy person. Seriously, you sell enough stuff, you're going to get bad feedback.
The crazies are out there, man. You gotta. Yeah, I've noticed that. You get big enough, they come out of the woodwork. That's actually a good sign of success, though. But
it really is. It really is. But dude, I used to do when I was on eBay, and I've still got I got like 18,000 feedback on eBay, right? And I haven't even sold on eBay in like 5 years. But it was like clockwork. Every 2,000 feedbacks, I would get someone who left a negative by accident. It would be a positive comment. They meant to click the positive, but they clicked the negative. And you know, I'd message them and I'd be like, hey, you know, just notice it really looks like you had a positive comment, but maybe you clicked it by accident. And they're always so apologetic. They feel really bad. But it would happen every 2,000 feedbacks. And it's just statistics, right? Like if you're clicking a button, and if you tell 2,000 people to click that button, one of them is going to click the wrong one, no matter how simple the instructions are. And I had another weird analogy. This is completely off topic. But I finally put orange juice in my cereal one day. I did it. I poured the orange juice in the cereal, and I was like, wow. My track record, my lifetime track record of milk in the cereal is now, it's not 100%. Right? Nothing's 100%. I'm 99.99, and given enough time, something will happen, right? Like enough time. If we lived, you know, 1,000,000 years, eventually someone will T-bone me when I back out of my driveway.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I hope it never happens, and I always look, but given enough time, probability of everything will happen, and that'll happen with eBay. It'll happen with Amazon. You'll get that negative feedback. And when you get it, grovel, beg, refund, whatever it is, get them to take it away. And not for the sake of the feedback, but because of customer service. Keep your customers happy. Don't be like, oh, screw that guy. No, keep him happy. You can be emotional for 5 seconds, then get over it, make that customer happy, keep your feedback up, because it's going to help your metrics, it's going to help your buy box percentage, and that's the important stuff, right? Are you really going to give up buy box percentage because you want to like stick it to some customer? No, let's all get over ourselves, treat the customers, you know, best we can. Even if we don't want to, we still do it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so plus or minus 2%, you mentioned, be in stock. Amazon wants to make sure that you can sell, and they want to keep the customer happy.
Sure.
Keep your metrics up. So when you price it, rather than, you said you used to go and just undercut people, and Zach Young's talked about this in the group a ton too. Do you price above now the lowest seller, or how do you price when you go into space?
It would kind of depend on the item, right? Like if it's it depends if I have quantity or if I'm looking for a quick sale. I mean, for the most part, as a general rule, I would probably match the lowest FBA seller.
Okay.
Because, you know, I'm buying stuff to sell, you know, and I know it's a little contradictory. I mean, we chatted earlier, you know, all this cash sitting here is because I didn't sell. I bought and forgot to sell it, and I got another box out here I'm going to go sell later today. These are Craigslist deals. But when you're sending stuff, you're buying inventory to send to FBA, buy it to sell. Buy it to send in and get it sold, which is why, just from the beginning, you want to know the market price. What's it selling for? Not what could you maybe sell it for if everybody else sells out. No, if you want to move this product, what do you have to sell it for? And to me, that's aggressive. Now, sometimes I'm going to want my money faster, and I'm going to undercut. And people say, oh, how dare you undercut? Or the other seller's going to look at this stupid seller. He's like making so much less money. I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing. All right, if you want to hold your price, that's fine. I got 80 units. I'll be done in a few days. Then it's back to you. But it's not personal. And like I think people should not make assumptions about other sellers not knowing what they're doing. I bet they know exactly what they're doing. Maybe they got long-term storage fees coming up. Maybe they got payroll they got to make. Maybe they need some cash to do a big deal. Who cares? They're happy with their price. Let them sell. Now, can you compete with that price? If so, compete. If not, go home. But it's not personal, right? People are like, oh, but it sells so good at $30. Yeah, well, you know what? It's a $10 item from Walmart that you're selling for $30. Now, I'm willing to sell it for $20 because I want to sell more units, because a lower price means more sales every single time. And I want the customer to get a better deal. Like, how dare I want to give more value to my customer? Right? And that's what people are saying. But no, how much can we get for this? How high can we keep the prices? Dude, that is not what made Walmart big. That's not what made Amazon big. That's not what made any successful seller big, is how high can we keep our prices?
Yeah.
And when you phrase it like that, it sounds so absurd, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what we're saying in the Facebook groups of like, no, these stupid sellers keep the price high.
Okay, so it depends on the product. You're looking from a value perspective first. This is clear. You said this at the very beginning of the interview. So just to recap this, I mean, you mentioned speed of velocity of turning things, and so I'm asking you specific criteria just so someone can have some parameter. Once you've gone through this, and you mentioned 50% different things, what's the next step you would do? I'm asking this question the second time. If you go out, you went out, you scanned your 1,000 items, you found your sweet spot. I get asked this question all the time in the group, Chris, like what should my criteria be? So I'm asking you what yours is because everybody wants to know. But what would you do next? Let's say in this hypothetical example, you're still working a day job. We have a lot of part-time hustlers in the group, and I think in this industry as a whole, probably at least over half of the Amazon sellers have another hustle or multiple hustles. What would you do next with the knowledge you know now? You got good. Maybe you're turning a couple $1,000 a month. You're starting to build up your capital. How would you start to scale?
The first thing is, and it's not even like really related to business, and it's the mastermind group, right? Like we're all on Facebook, we're all in groups. Once you have a little knowledge where you can provide value, not just to yourself, but to other people, that's where I would start to say, okay, I need to start networking. I need to find other sellers and share what you have. Right, to be like, hey, I'm having some success over here. I feel I'm really got a good hold on Target. I'm looking to kind of learn more about Walmart. Does anybody want to hook up? And that's what Facebook's for, because you can find people who are chatting about something. And you're like, hey, that guy seems really smart. Hey, I like that guy's screenshot of $50,000 in a month. I want to get to know that guy. And you start to build that relationship, but you have to provide value. It's not a, hey, $1 million seller, I want to hang with you. Be like, hey, $1 million seller, compliment them. Hey, it looks like you're doing really well in sales. I just started, but I found this at Target, and maybe you'd like to pick some up too, right? Because we should all be selling stuff that can survive more than one other seller, right? Like, how about enough sales that one other person could get on it? But once you have that mastermind group, then you have a place where you can bounce ideas around. You can say, hey guys, what do you think about this? And people are going to share ideas back with you, because what I want to get to is replenishable product, right? Because you can't quit your job if you're only buying clearance. If your business hinges on that next deal coming across, because it might not come across. Home Depot might change their clearance strategies. Target.com may completely change how they mark down their inventory. If you're doing online arbitrage, it's going to change. There's no guarantee. So I want replenishable inventory. Typically replenishable, meaning you can buy it again and again, whether it's off the shelf, retail or online or wholesale. It's going to be lower margin because it's less risk, right? It's always sitting there. You're not buying it significantly below retail unless you're couponing and rebates and all that stuff. You can get your costs down at the store level. And of course, nobody's paying sales tax, right? Everybody's tax exempt. I trust that's a module in your thing.
Whole topic, man.
So you want to be able to replenish, and you're going to have a lot more, I think, opportunities to find those products when you're networking with other people. Otherwise, you just got to scan the whole store, right? But
yeah, that's the problem, though. People, I mean, you get through that place, you learn it. You can't go back and rescan. You find deals, and I do this all the time. I find deals when I'm just out shopping with my wife or whatever, and there might be great deals. I can't go back. They're seasonal or whatever. Right. So where do you find $1 million question? Where does somebody find? This is like asking where's the water, Chris. And we've got. I say this question. Members of our group are used. I mean, Zach and I. And the reason Zach's not here with us today is he's hard at work. We're building a supply system for our group. We just did another 6-figure purchase of inventory. So we've got a supply, and we can't feed our group enough. And so we're working on that. The logistics have been more of a challenge. But I'm asking you, I guess, the $1 million question, where do people find replenishable product if they're sourcing on their own, which is what we want to teach all of our members to do? Well,
it really is out there. But it's more of a, and I don't know if there's like a perfect way to explain it. You got to believe that this stuff's out there and go find it and be willing to. I mean, it's an understanding the market kind of thing, right? Like I've scanned enough stuff. I've been in enough stores where I can go in and just look at an aisle, and I bet with pretty good accuracy I could pick out the winners, right? Now, a lot of that comes to, I have kids, and I'm kind of a big kid myself. I like toys, and I grew up with Transformers, and I still like to walk the toy aisle when I go to the store. But you can spot a short pack, right? Like if something comes in a case pack and there's only one of one, you can look at the products on the shelf and you can be like, all right, this is the short pack, right? And that you get better at that over time. You can kind of start to see items. You're like, you know what, that's going to be collectible. There's going to be someone who really wants that product. Or you're looking at say food. Food is a great replenishable one. You have to pay attention to expiration dates and meltable stuff. But you can see weird flavors and see like, that's a weird flavor, or this is a regional product, or I know this chain of stores is only in a certain part of the country. And none of this is secret, but you have to learn it. And again, that it can help with the mastermind group stuff. And then you have to be willing to scan the stuff and see it not on Amazon and say, you know what? I'm going to bring that to Amazon. I'm going to take the chance of 1, buying inventory, 2, investing my time in making the listing, 3, spending money to send it to FBA with no Camel and Keepa history, right? No sales numbers to go by, and hope that it sells. But you get better at picking those products because you're picking, oh, this is Trader Joe's. This is their like a version of another brand that I'm piggybacking on that keyword versus bringing a nothing product, with no good keywords. You kind of get better at that over time. And a lot of these things you can look up automatic. You can go to Trader Joe's Amazon search and see what people are already selling from Trader Joe's and see what works and see that, hey, there's a single pack for this item. It's in the top 100 in food. But man, if it's that popular, why is there no 2-pack or 6-pack? And saying, I'm gonna make that variation. I'm gonna provide extra value, and you're actually gonna lower your fees on a 6-pack instead of 6 individual orders. You probably make more money on it. And then you just replenish. I mean, we can get into bundling. I'm guessing you guys have done a segment on bundling. But that's, if you want the reward, you have to put in the risk, right? You will take the risk.
What I hear you talking about is, and this maybe is the question of, piggybacking on listings versus creating your own listing. So
yeah, that's a topic in itself.
Yeah, I asked you about replenishing. So one way that you're saying to do that is to create a bundle product where you're combining 2 products in one, and I'm guessing you just put it in a poly bag or something, and versus creating a new listing. So is that, I guess my question, how much of that do you do, creating new listings versus just tossing stuff up? Or is that kind of, like icing on the cake for you?
Well, I used to do some of both. I mean, I hate to claim that I invented buying the UPC, but I see no record of anybody doing it beforehand. And it came from a rigid combo kit. I mean, this was a big monster kit. It was 2 drills and a saw, and it came with this little radio. This was the first like battery powered radio where you put your 18-volt drill battery on and it would, run all day. But the only way you could get it was in this kit. And Rigid was a strong brand. I've been selling it for years. And I knew people were going to go nuts for this radio that you could not buy unless you bought a $300 combo kit. So I was trying to list it, and I couldn't get the listing up. And I had a contact at Amazon from back in the day. And I said, dude, how do you list this stuff? He's like, dude, it has to have a UPC. I was like, well, it doesn't have one. He's like, well, I guess you can just buy one. And he was like kind of being flippant about it. Like, leave me alone, dude. Like, just go buy a UPC. And I was like, I had no idea you could buy a UPC. Right? So I Google buy a UPC. They used to cost me $20 a piece. Now you can get like 2,000 of them for $20. $20 a piece to buy a UPC. So I'm buying them and I'm making new listings. And I was selling that radio for $119. And the market came to equilibrium. People beat the price down to about $30. But I was the first one there. And that's the key. Because both the things, whether you're bundling or bringing new products, you're the first one. So you're able to make that money. Now people are going to jump on your stuff. If something's successful, you're going to get copycats. There are ways, and maybe we give a few minutes here at the end to talk about ways to protect your listing and bundle by providing value that's exclusive to you as a seller. But both things, you're there first. That's why you're making extra money, and you're able to replenish because it is off the shelf. But it's the people who take the risk that get the rewards. But yeah, I can give you some sweet tips to keep your new products exclusive to you.
Okay. Well, man, I've got so many questions for you, Chris. We've got 10 minutes. Well, I guess we'll have to do a part 2 at some point because I want to talk about bundles, and then we just started skimming on this replenishing topic, which obviously there's different ways. So is creating your own listing and creating a bundle or finding a creative product, that's your favorite way to do replenishables, or are there other ways that you look for replenishables?
I would bet that you're going to have much better results profit-wise from creating new bundles than piggybacking, because by the time something is already out there in the marketplace and it's visible, then competition is going to come in. And it's not stupid sellers beating the price down. It's smart sellers who know that selling in volume and all this stuff is the right model for their business. And when that happens, the big players who come in and say, hey, I'm thrilled to take 10% of my money because I got $1 million sourcing budget every month, they're going to squeeze out the people who are like, I can't make 10% of my money. I need to make more than that. I get that, right? Like, that sucks. But it's not that the big seller is a dummy. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's also pushing the small seller out. He's pushing his competition out, which is someplace where we should all want to get, to be big enough to control our own destiny instead of being at the mercy of the marketplace and always scrambling for that next deal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's just use, I guess we've got not 10 minutes left. Let's use this to shift gears and talk to the advanced sellers. And this will be the last segment of our hangout today. A lot of you guys had great questions. I'm pulling out of the Facebook group. We had some stuff from international users about online arbitrage and things to do outside of the US. So we're going to save Chris's time out of respect for his time. We're going to do a whole separate hangout specifically on international. In fact, we've got someone in the UK that's crushing it that does exactly that. So we'll save that question. Gil, I think you have the question in the group. So let's talk advanced sellers, though, for a couple minutes. Chris, I know you've got a busy day. You've got to run. Keep the hustle going.
We'll make some more of this, dude.
Make some more of this. What's some big tips, man? We've talked about the secrets. You mentioned bundling. What's something that someone who's got that experience, they've learned how to analyze stuff, they're looking for replenishables, what should that person be focused on once they've gotten to that stage in their business?
I would tell them to pay more attention to their Amazon reports than they probably are. There's so much information in the Amazon reports, in the selling coach, and for the most, and I'm guilty of it, I ignore it all. I get the email saying, hey, here's a product opportunity, or here, your price is too high. And a lot of people say, oh, screw you, Amazon. Don't tell my price is too high. I know what I'm doing. Amazon's telling you that for a reason, right? Amazon's not wasting their breath and be like, they're not, if you price here, you're going to sell a lot more units. They know product pages that people look at that don't have offers at all, or they don't have any FBA representation. And they'll look at the brands that you sell, and they'll be like, hey, we see that you sell these brands. Here's a bunch of products, same brand, that have no FBA representation if you want to take a look at them. Now, they can't tell you, please send that inventory. We guarantee it'll sell. They can't say that, but they call it the nudge. It's a real Amazon word, the nudge. They're trying to nudge sellers in the right direction and be like, please, we know it will sell if you just send us this product. And they send emails out, and we ignore them because we think they're spam or they're marketing or whatever. But they got a whole report in there of inventory opportunities. And Amazon's trying to tell you, hey, guys, we're probably not going to sell this stuff anymore, but there's still a lot of demand for it. So if you guys want to keep selling it, cool. They're kind of telling you that, hey, you're not going to have to compete with us anymore. Okay. We're getting out of this product. And there are so many reports in there, and they want you to know. And I'm guilty of saying, oh, I know what products make the money in my business. And the truth is, I probably don't. It's probably the products that I don't think are making the money. It's the 80-20 rule, right? Like 20% of your products get 80% of your profits. But we want to sell sexy iPads, and we want to sell the cool toys that are the top 100. Well, how about you do the stuff in Industrial Scientific that has like the great sales ranks? I bought name tags and lanyards, and they were like top 300, right? People are going to buying lanyards, and they're buying a lot of freaking lanyards. But nobody thinks about lanyards as being like awesome. And like an idiot, well, I'm like an idiot, but I'm buying lanyards, and I'm buying the tag holders separately. Here's a free product idea for anybody listening. Bundle that stuff together, so I only got to buy one thing instead of like going and buying both of them. Because you're always buying both. You're never buying one and not the other.
Yeah. Industrial Tech, that's like a supply magazine, right?
No, it's the BIS category, Business Industrial
Gotcha.
Scientific Supply. And I think it's gated, so you have to get approved. All right, so to the advanced sellers, get ungated, right? Do what it takes. Hire someone in your organization to go through the process and apply. It's only going to get harder. It's definitely not going to get easier. Why would it get easier?
Yeah.
It's going to get harder. Get approved in those categories. Be willing to expand and try new things. FBA, I mean, fourth quarter is only going to get bigger every year for the foreseeable future. So be willing to send in more inventory than before. And here's a tip for everybody, whether it's advanced or not. But look back at the past 3 fourth quarters, if you've been selling that long, and look and say, you know what, I should have sent more. And if the answer is I should have sent more every single quarter on certain products, then send more. Send more than you think you're going to send. Because guess what? 3 years in a row, you were wrong. Right? What do you think this year is going to be any different? But hey, the data never lies. If you sent too much and 3 years in a row, you're like, dude, we sent too much. Be smart, analyze the data, and don't send as much this year. It's all data. That's all Amazon is data. They're going to tell you they can probably predict down, pretty close to how many units they're going to sell of pretty much every ASIN this fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Okay. So pay attention to the nudge, pay attention to the insights from the reports. I guess, what are your favorite sourcing strategies? We've talked about the retail ARB. Obviously, you're always out there hustling stuff. Online ARB. Do you have wholesalers that you work with and replenishables, or where do you, if you look at where 80% of your profits come from, what are your favorite sourcing strategies?
Well, you guys know I'm not like a big full-time seller anymore with all the books and the ScanPower stuff and the education that we do. But we just got back from ASD. I love going to ASD and just talking to wholesalers, and I see all these opportunities. There's so much out there. And I usually walk the floor with other sellers, and I'm happy to get the introduction going and getting a connection going to where, hey, they can buy that product and they can sell it. But there really is so many opportunities out there if that's your business model, right? If you want to do wholesale, if you've got the capital to do a wholesale, that's probably the big one. If you don't have capital, then don't even try on the wholesale stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a silly answer, but the biggest opportunity that I saw at ASD in Vegas was in the marijuana accessories and the vaporizer stuff, because it's all going to be legal, right? Probably 5 or 6 years. It's going to be legal nationwide, which means it's going to be a huge market. So whether you want to smoke the stuff or not, you can sell the accessories, right? And it's going to be legal on Amazon. And right now, there's nobody. You can't blister buy the stuff on Amazon. But it's kind of about looking forward and seeing the world's changing super fast, right? Whether it's marijuana legalization or anything else, and you can be at the forefront of it, but you've got to have the confidence to take that risk. And it's kind of what I said at the beginning. I was all in on FBA. You could not teach me, talk me out of it, convince me. And this is 7.5 years ago, FBA, where nobody heard about it. Nobody knew what you were talking about. You explained it, and they were like, yeah, I really don't know what you're talking about. But I believed it. No one else around me believed it. So if you believe in a product, you got to go all in on it. I want people to trust their gut a little bit, because it is very low risk, money-wise and time-wise, to try something new, and very high reward when that something new takes off. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the exciting part about being an online seller or just living in 2015. So I'll say it again. It is very low risk, money-wise, very low risk, time-wise, to try something new, whether it's trying FBA or trying a new product or trying anything, trying a Google Hangout to build your own audience to sell a course, whatever it is. Very low risk, and the rewards are very high. If something takes off, it takes off. But if it doesn't, remember, it was such low risk. It didn't take anything but an hour of your time or $100 to try something. And that's where it comes back to. So that was one of the real secrets we were going to offer up. Trying new things is one of the real secrets. The biggest real secret is work hard. You got to work hard. You got to outwork your competition. You got to hustle. You got to do all that stuff. That's a real secret. But the other one, I'll give you 3 secrets. So we talked about all of them. Work hard, hang out with the right people, meaning groups, masterminds, stuff like that, supportive people, not negative people, and try new things. You do those 3 things consistently, you'll win. I kind of guarantee it.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. That's a good bow tie to put on our talk today. And I'm glad that we're getting to here, because there really aren't any secrets in FBA. I mean, we do these hangouts for you guys just to pull out all the little nuggets and things that people got going on. Work hard, get around the right people. We're actually working on a mastermind program, so this is a perfect segue. This maybe is pushing
exactly.
Get off our butt. That's been the biggest breakthroughs I've had too in any kind of business. Internet marketing, FBA, is getting out of the computer, getting around like-minded people. That's everything in any kind of business.
That's it.
You learn, something happens to you. You think differently, and going in with a supportive mind. And that you already said this, Chris, but how can I be of service and value to this group, to these people? Always from that perspective, it'll take you long, long ways. And try new things, bundles, get out there and take action. That's the hustle part. So, man, that's it, Chris.
That was a quick hour, man.
That's good. Well, I figured I've got so many questions, man. We'll have to circle back around when we will have time and do a part 2, maybe talk more technical stuff. But any closing words, man? Any closing nuggets that we haven't talked about that you want to leave folks with?
We talked about the big ones, right? The 3 secrets. I've been saying that in my presentation because there's nobody who has talked to more sellers in the past 5 years than me, right? So I've been trying to like bundle up all the feedback I've got so I can help sellers and say like you're like these guys, or you're like these guys, or this is your competition. And that's where I kind of come up with the 3 secrets, right? You got to work hard. If you don't work hard, someone else is going to work harder than you, and they're going to beat you. But the relationship thing, I think if people don't get it, they'll eventually get it. You got to build the relationships, and it has to be a 2-way street, a win-win type of relationship. You can't just go to somebody and say, hey, give me value. They're like, no, who are you? I don't know who you are. But it's so easy to give value up front. And this is a Gary Vee thing. You know, I follow Gary Vee like crazy. He'll say, you know, in the relationship, if you give somebody 51% of the relationship to where they're like, of course I'm gonna do that relationship. I'm getting more than half the value here. You get the 49 for free.
Yeah.
But every time you try to take more for yourself, guess what? People are gonna like shy away from it. They're gonna be like, no, I don't need that. Why am I gonna give you more of this relationship? I don't even know you.
Yeah.
But, hey, you give me more than half, then I'll give you the rest.
Yeah.
And you just build after build after build, and then you have a network of people that you can rely on and call on, get feedback on, bounce ideas off of. I did this with Paul, my business partner. I used to always like make up new plans, like, oh, I'm gonna work on this, and then I'm gonna show it to him when it's done. And time after time, he would say, hey, that's awesome, but what if we did it this way? And I'm like, yes, that way is so much better. I wasted so much time to where I don't keep secrets from him anymore. I say, hey, I'm working on this. What do you think? And together, more than one mind working on it, it always comes out better. Not just 2 times, right? It's like a multiplier effect. It's just the way it works. Sometimes you can't explain it, but it's the way the world works.
Yeah, man, that's rich. So people business, even e-commerce, the secrets are the people. Just out of curiosity, and this is kind of a bonus question, who is on your team? Who do you have? I mean, are you a one-man shop? Are you still doing the processing inventory, or how do you and your partner split up tasks? You got anybody else working for you? Who do you have surrounded by yourself for business?
On the ScanPower side, it's 2 of us. We're the co-founders and co-owners of it, me and Paul Rutherford. He's kind of behind the scenes, but he does all the technical stuff, all the programming, all the project management. And I kind of do, you know, kind of some of the design, like, you know, from a seller point of view, this is what the app needs to do, right? It needs to look like this, and I need this. And they make it happen, and they make it work. So we have a support team that does that. We've got a team of programmers. We're up to about 12 people now on the ScanPower team. And up to recently, I've been still processing my own shipments. I get the stuff. I've started to pay Amazon to do it. Like when I get my case packs of books, UPS labels, and I pay Amazon 20 cents to do that.
Yeah.
If I was going to do a big purchase now, I would send it to a fulfillment or a prep and ship company.
Okay.
And they've got them in tax-free states now. Oregon. I like the guys at Prime Zero Prep. Brendan Sullivan's a great guy. I don't know if he's taking new clients now, but he's tax-free. You put in his address for a shipping address, tax-free on the online arbitrage orders. By the time he processes it, you actually pay less than if you pay tax.
Okay.
And you don't have to touch the stuff, right? You can be in a condo and apartment.
When you're doing any kind of sourcing or online arb, you're shipping it directly. And we've got a list of this inside the group, guys. If you go in the file section, I believe Prime Zero Prep is like, it's on there. It's one of those. So you actually ship it directly to the prep house, and then they send it into Amazon for you. That's
like one of the actual secrets of FBA. If you want to scale this up, FBA removed the bottleneck of fulfillment. Now these prep companies are removing the bottleneck of shipment preparation to where you just have to source product. I mean, because think about it, putting stuff in bags, putting stickers on stuff, that's not like high wage work.
Oh, right? It sucks. I know. I hate it though. It's my bottleneck in my business too. I hate it.
Dude, use a prep company.
Use a prep company, dude. Yeah, I've called a couple of them here. I got to just get off and get that put together. So okay, so you're gonna send them, like I got a box in my garage. Can I put everything in a box all together, books, all these different items, send them to them, and they will upload it? Or how does that work exactly?
You could, but by the time you do that shipping, it might make more sense for you to do it or to hire someone local to do it. Because then now you're double dipping on the shipping. Now, if you're doing like, you know, online arbitrage and getting the free shipping straight to him, then you're not paying to get it to you and then repaying to send it out. Gotcha. Certainly could. But everything's a numbers game, right? Yeah. And this is like hiring your first employee. This might be a little more advanced tip. $15 an hour can get someone who's pretty good, right? So if you're not willing to hire someone for $15 an hour to put labels on your boxes, you're paying yourself $15 an hour to put labels on your boxes. Yeah. I like to think most of us value our time more than $15 an hour, right? If someone says $15 an hour, but you got to drive to Boston and deliver a box. I'm like, screw that. I'm not doing that for $15 an hour. Yeah. But every time I label boxes, I'm paying myself $15 an hour. So I'm a hypocrite, right? We're all getting in that little zone. We need to like sit down and treat it like a business and be willing and trusting enough to hire someone to come in and think, oh, this kid's not going to take over my business. He just wants $15 an hour so he can go to the 7-Eleven and buy some Doritos. That's it. Let him label your boxes.
All right, cool, man. Well, good tips, Chris. I figured we'd be loaded today with golden nuggets. Hopefully, Jamie,
we'll do it again.
We'll do it again. We'll do more, man. These are always fun. I get a charge out of this, and I had written down. This is such a loaded question, but I had written down to ask you how you found fulfillment in this work, and I have an idea of where you would answer that around helping people. I get a charge out of that too, just sharing value. But Chris, appreciate your time, man. I know we're a couple minutes past the hour.
Yeah,
a hustle.
I gotta go make some money, man.
Yeah, so
I got a pitching machine in my driveway. I gotta go to meet a guy and sell it. But hey, I sold a pitching machine today for $900 cash, and this other one is $600 cash. So I can't ignore $1,500 cash in a day on 2 items. But they're online arbitrage deals. Bought them from Amazon, and I'm selling them on Craigslist because they're way too big to send back. They're like 140-pound pitching machine.
So you found See, there's all kinds of hustle, which way, left, right, and sideways. But cool, Chris. Awesome, man. Appreciate you guys having on. If you guys want to connect with Chris, I'm sure you can find him. He's all over the place, and we'll have you back for more questions in the future. So appreciate it, man. Have a rocking afternoon, dude.
We'll chat again, man. See ya.
All right, brother.